Hi, I'm Chris Bergwald, Director of Adult Faith Formation with the Diocese of Sioux Falls.
And I'm Eric Gallagher, the Director of Adolescent Faith Formation for the Diocese of Sioux Falls.
And this is the first in a video series that we're doing on Sherry Weddell's book, Forming Intentional Disciples. It's a book that came out last year that we and others in the diocese are really excited about. A number of people in the diocese have read it, and we decided to do this series of short videos just to talk about some of the things in the book that we wanted to emphasize and highlight and maybe elaborate on a little bit for the purposes of discipleship and catechesis and evangelization in our diocese. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, feel free to comment on this video. Let us know, give us feedback. We want to hear from you, questions you have about the content of these videos, about the book, anything that we can help you with. And also, just so you know, it'd probably be most beneficial for you to have read the book before you get into these videos, or it'll make more sense to you, certainly. But what we want to do is just jump right in and talk about the first chapter. Eric, the thing that probably struck me the most about the first chapter, there's the statistic that she mentions, that the number of Catholics, really what the first chapter does is just go through sort of where we're at, and it's sort of an ugly picture that she paints. But the one that stuck out to me in particular was the fact that the majority of Catholics in our country don't know that they can have a personal relationship with God. And so if we're missing that, then it makes sense that all the other stats that Sherry gives are reality, because if we're missing that, then everything else in a sense falls apart.
And I think that's one of the it is such an ugly thing, and we don't see it. We're not able to see it in people, and so it's gradually just getting worse and worse because there's no one to pass on that relationship. That's in later chapters, but it is such an interesting fact. And she also goes into really kind of explain where we put the blame on it, and there's often an assumption that Catholics aren't excited about the faith because it's not entertaining enough, or we don't do the things that the other mega churches that are bringing in the big people and the big bucks. And I really like in the chapter how she says that we cannot blame it because we're not entertaining them, that entertainment's not the thing that's going to bring people in. And you look at things like the Super Bowl, for example, and they spend millions and millions of dollars on a halftime show at the Super Bowl. And when you read people's reviews, they're like, it was okay.
Right.
And so we can't compete with what these other mega churches are doing, and that's not our point. What she's really trying to say is it has to do with the personal relationship with Christ. And the reality is most people just don't even believe that that's possible. So
right.
We need to start there.
Yeah, and the rest of the book, as you said, sort of unpacks that idea, but that's the core thing that we begin with, that this is about, as the book, the title of the book, Intentional Discipleship. It's about discipleship, about having a personal relationship with Christ as sort of the starting point. It's not just about being involved in church, in a ministry, liturgical ministry, or on a committee, or helping out. Those things are all important, but it's got to all flow from a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And so this idea of discipleship, it really goes, and that's what catechesis and evangelization is all about. But to me, the value of the book and the opening chapter is just reminding us, if we don't get this in place, the rest of it's lost.
And the first disciples had that. That's really the benefit that they had in the Gospels when Christ came and sat down with them, was they had that great relationship with Christ, and they're so open, and so all these, later we go through the thresholds, and they had all these things because they were in relationship with Christ, and that was drawing them into it even deeper. And so we need to start there. And so really this book is hopefully, as we're finding around the diocese, that many of the people who are reading this book are those people who have a relationship with Christ but have a desire to share it with other people. And so that really is our hope of spreading the word about this book, is that those people would be the disciples that would be equipped to go and make more disciples. And so as we go through the rest of the chapters, we'll definitely hit on how those people who hopefully are authentic, intentional disciples that are striving to be in relationship with Christ, that they would also go and make more disciples.
Right, that disciples become disciple makers.
Yeah.
Great.